Welcome to the Global Gaming Business Podcast, the industry's first and longest running podcast, now in our 20th year. I'm Roger Gros, the editor at Large of GGB, and today we sit down with Art Paikowsky, the president of the International Center for Responsible Gaming. The ICRG is probably the most influential organization promoting RG. The ICRG was formed in 1996 by the American Gaming Association to help investigate the causes of problem gambling. Blindly funded by the large gaming companies, the ICRG has done important work over the years. Art Paikowsky was appointed president in 2021 with a mission to widen the base of the organization to add new members involved in the iGaming and sports betting fields. He accomplished that mission with great enthusiasm, and today the ICRG is stronger than ever. Paikowsky is retiring from the ICRG and passing the torch to another very capable executive, Micheal Soll, formerly of the Innovation Group. Paikowsky spoke with me from his home in Arizona in July. Welcome to the Global Gaming Business Podcast. My guest today is Art Paikowsky, the president and CEO of the International Center for Responsible Gaming. Art, it's great to see you.
Thank you. Nice to see you too, Roger.
Nice. Thanks for taking the time to do this. We're anxious to hear what you have to say because you're close to retirement and you're exiting the International Center. But everybody I've talked to really has a lot of good things to say about your time there. They said you really transformed the organization and you've taken it to the next level, I think. So I think that's really a notable accomplishment. So what do you believe is your most notable accomplishment in your time at the ICRG?
Well, I start by saying that I think in the interview that we did shortly after I took the job that right. I want to again express my gratitude to the board for hiring me and giving me this opportunity to serve. It's been a really, really good run. I actually had retired from retirement to come back into the workforce. And so, it's an important decision for me because I didn't make it because I had to work.
Sure.
I made it because I wanted to work and because I believed in the mission of the organization. So it's always hard to pinpoint maybe one thing. Mm-hmm. I'm going to point out a couple things if you don't mind. The first thing is I get a lot of credit and attention for having raised so much more money than we were raising at the time that I took the job.
Right.
We had fallen on really hard times right after COVID.
Right.
And, the financial stability of the organization suggested to me at that point that we, frankly, might have gone underwater.
Yeah, sure.
So the patient was on life support at best. And, my primary skill set is fundraising. I've been doing it for a long time. And I think that the match and the fit was really good. But what I've said over and over again, what I say at every board meeting, it's not the money, it's the research. Right. That the money actually has created. That's the real accomplishment that I would focus on. And we're currently doing 36 studies. When I started, we were doing, you count them on one hand.
Yeah.
So I think the impact that we're going to have, even after I'm gone, is going to be seen out in the future. And I know we can talk about that in a little bit more detail as we get deeper into the questions. But yeah, it's been a good run, and I think the visibility of the organization also, the kind of board that we have, I know, Roger, you're familiar with many people on the board.
Sure, absolutely.
Very, very prestigious, and that's how you make an organization grow the way that we have.
Yeah, no question about it. So one of the things that happened when you first came on board is you had to approach the new companies of the industry, the iGaming and the sports betting companies. They hadn't been involved with the ICRG up until that time. What was your pitch to them at the time? Were you really satisfied with how they responded?
Well, I think, it's fair to say we had razor-thin support from all of the diverse aspects of the industry.
Sure.
From, manufacturers to operators, and of course to the new sort of generation of companies, which are in sports betting and things like that. I feel like we've made tremendous progress. The household names are all supporting us in a very generous way. It doesn't mean that there aren't others that we would like to tap into, but everything starts with leadership. I mean, why are we raising so much more from operators? The lead companies, Sands and MGM, Caesars, are all on board, and they're making substantial gifts. So that sends a message to everybody about the importance of the work that we do, I think the respect that we have for the quality of the work that we do. And so it's growing in the new space. It takes time. But certainly, FanDuel, we have somebody now on our board representing FanDuel, which was important. DraftKings has been supportive, and now we're getting deeper into some of the smaller companies in the sports betting space.
Sure. Okay, great. So, I've been following the NCRG, now the ICRG, since it started. I was there at the first conference he held, which is at George Washington University, I think in 1994 or something like that.
Yes.
But it was. I remember going to that first conference and thinking, well, I'm the stupidest guy in the world because I didn't understand a thing that what they were saying, talking about brain synapses and all kinds of psychological things and things like that, but now you've taken it to the next level. I mean, the conference is the best in the industry as far as I'm concerned, and it's held alongside G2E each year. And what did you see when you first came in and did you change anything that the conference was attempting to do?
Well, Roger, I think you're right. I'd say there was the conference that we do in October is really the cornerstone of our whole educational structure. Mm-hmm. And I think the difference between now and 3 years ago is that, we didn't have enough research to really talk about in the way that we do now.
Sure.
So
right.
The investigators come to the conference and they talk about the work that we're doing. And we still talk about some of those kinds of things that you mentioned because we know that this is like every other addiction. It's a brain function disorder. So we have to talk about rat studies and different work that we do in that regard. But we also talk about certain dangers to specific populations. We know that young adults are at greater risk than other populations. Mm-hmm. That's already been borne out. So the question is, how do we understand that better? And then when we understand it better, what are we going to do about it? And I want to talk about that because I think the cornerstone of a lot of research that we're doing is very understandable. And where it's not as understandable as it needs to be, we're doing significantly more knowledge translation, because if you have to have a PhD to understand the outcome of some of the work that we do, that's going to limit the market of people that can actually do something about it.
Exactly.
So, So I think the conference will be that. And I also want to mention, though, on top of that, we're doing more webinars. We're doing smaller conferences. We're focusing on specific populations like tribal. We also know that tribal members are at greater risk than the general population. Let's dig deeper than just doing one conference, and so I'm very proud of those accomplishments on the educational side of our mission. Research and education. Those are our go-tos in terms of our mission.
Right, no question. So you mentioned you have 36 research studies underway right now. What do you think are some of the most important ones that we should mention while we're here?
You know what? I'm going to grab something. Give me one second. We do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually printed something out to respond to that question when I was going to be doing this in Vegas, but I came home instead. So
okay. Good.
I'm going to share some of the specifics with you. Okay, here's one of them. This is one of our largest grants, which went to a PhD professor at Cambridge Health Alliance. Co-design responsible gambling messages to promote safer play behaviors. So messaging is so important. We were involved. I'm not saying we were the only ones involved, but when there was some messaging around risk-free betting, we never think there's risk-free betting.
Exactly.
It might be risk-free to somebody that doesn't have a diagnosable gambling disorder, but it's not risk-free to everybody. So I think messaging is really important. It's something we ought to work on together. I think that you have in the world of advertising, for example, you have jurisdictions that just have decided, well, because there's so much advertising, we're just going to shut it all down. Well, how is that fair? I mean, that's not fair. There's nothing, there's no research to support the decision to say we're no longer able, meaning the gambling industry, to advertise our product. So what we're trying to understand is, where should the lines be drawn? What can and cannot be said? So that would be one. We don't really understand what makes positive, responsible gaming messages that resonate with people.
Right.
So we have to tie the messaging to the people, and get the messages to be relevant to a large majority of people so that they understand what is and what is not responsible gaming, right?
Right.
We're looking at AI. AI is on everybody's mind right now. So are there artificial intelligence tools that can produce the next generation of positive play?
Right.
Okay. So these are just three. I could go through 36.
Yeah.
But they're more relevant than I think people understand, because we're moving away from just that brain stuff to really concrete things that are in the public eye right now. Because I think the only way to truly understand and respond, and I say this to regulators and legislators all the time, is to have data. How do you make coherent decisions about what you should or shouldn't do if you have no data?
Right.
And we don't have enough data right now to guide those decisions. So I think that's where I would go right now with, I think, the trending in terms of what we're trying to accomplish. Get good information the way that we've always gotten it. Our standards are extremely high. And you know what? Nobody ever says otherwise.
Right.
I mean, our standards are as high as NIH. I mean, if you want to get a grant from us, get ready to jump through the fire ring.
Right.
It's that difficult. And that's why, very well known, we're doing research with Rutgers, which has a high profile in the gambling space, with Harvard, which has been at it for a long time. So, I mean, the product's going to be good. The people that fund us are going to be happy, and the industry is going to be changed for the better.
Sure. Well, you mentioned Harvard, and the level of research really started with Dr. Howard Schaefer, who was involved with the organization right from the start, and he's certainly a legend in the RG world. And so I think you're maintaining the integrity that he brought to the industry.
I would say that's true. We have a great legacy. And I said, I'm going to tell you one quick story because I'm really proud of it. I won't mention the company, but we had put out a request for application, and we got 3 applications to do this study. None of them scored high enough to warrant being funded. What do?
Yeah.
Do we take the best of 3 that are inadequate? No. We went back to the funder. We explained the situation. We said we're going to re-execute the grant, which we did, which means that we had to wait some number of months. And then we got 3 new applications, all of which were fundable.
Yeah.
That particular funder, for a very large grant, basically said, good for you, because we don't compromise on quality.
Sure, absolutely. No question about that. So there's been a lot of attention paid to responsible gaming in the past couple of years, for sure. And I think a lot of that has been spurred by online gambling, online sports betting, and the lack of research in those areas. There's been a lot of organizations that have come out, saying that online gaming is the crack cocaine of the gambling business. And of course, we don't really know that yet. So what kind of research are you guys doing into that kind of online and screen gambling?
Well, I think it's a very interesting question. Thanks for asking it. I think that, we're right now at a tipping point in a lot of ways.
Right.
Like, gambling's not going to do anything but grow and expand, right? And new players are coming into the industry. So at the one point, there's a lot that we don't know, and there's a lot we need to know sooner rather than later. On the other hand, which I had to explain to somebody that interviewed me not long ago, you can't, like somebody said to me, why don't you do it faster?
Right.
Well, if I did it faster, it wouldn't be quality.
Right. Exactly.
You wouldn't learn anything. Do it faster doesn't get you what you need, right? You need to track people over time. I mean, these things are pretty commonsensical, right? So I think that's why we're trying to, light a fire under everybody, all of our funders. Let's get more money into the system so that we can understand this better, which will be good for the players, but also good for the industry. And I think that's the part of it. That's that growing understanding that it's good for the industry, it's good for the sustainability of your business, has also been a big factor in why so many people are coming to the table, because regulators are ready to make more rules, not necessarily factually based. Legislators, you see it's on the agenda. All you have to do is read the newsletters. Something's happening in New Jersey, something's happening in Montana, something's happening in New Mexico. So, we have to find that right balance between we've got to provide the data, but only in the most responsible fashion, and the industry has to do something with it, as do regulators and legislators.
Right. Well, the odd thing is when you look at online gambling operators, they always talk about, they can track their players perfectly because they see every move they make, every bet they make.
Right.
But we're still getting these problems where we don't know what makes a problem gambler online. I mean, is there a way? Are you doing studies that really look into that kind of thing?
Well, having access to player behavior is extremely important to have for the investigators. So, we've asked the big companies to be supportive, in anonymized data.
Right.
We're not looking at Roger's gambling.
Sure. Right.
We're looking at X's gambling behavior. And so you need to have in studies, you need to have a relevant sample, which could be in the thousands. And the only way to get that is to work with the companies and make sure that the investigators have what they need to produce the kind of quality information that the ICRG is all about.
Right. Yeah, no question about it. So there are, I'm going to say dozens, but I'd probably say hundreds of organizations devoted to online gaming. And I did a thing a few weeks ago, just through a state in there with responsible gaming, and every state has an organization, and certainly there's collegiate organizations and things of that nature. So. And the ICRG, really was the first organization to get started. So, how do you keep, your organization above the fray, in the years you were there?
Well, I think that it's interesting. When I first came, there were some that were asking us to expand our mission, and the board was like, they put a hard stop on that.
Yeah.
We have our hands full doing what it is we're committed to do.
Sure. Right.
But I did, we're not a direct service organization. We never will. And I consider all of those organizations to be partners. I mean, we're going to give you hopefully more tools to assure that you're better prepared to assist people who are in need of your service.
Right.
So I would say that we define ourselves in the two areas I mentioned before, which is research and education. And we do it. I mean, I think, and others could argue with me, I think we're best in class. I don't think anybody can, quote, compete with us in terms of our process. The people that make these decisions, our scientific advisory board members, these are the elites of the research world. So I think our process, there's always, no matter what you do, there will be people who criticize you for for accepting industry support. Will always be those people.
Right.
No matter how careful you are, no matter what your process, because they won't listen. Right. But at the end of the day, I say the same thing. If we don't get the money from the industry, we won't have any research.
Right. Yeah.
All of our funders are from the industry. It's so oxymoronic. And I think Roger, from before. The government hasn't stepped in on this. NIH isn't funding any research to speak of. So it's got to be us, and we got to do more, and we got to do it right.
Right. And the way you do it right is do the blind research that you do, that the industry puts the money up and they have no influence on what happens with the studies, and then, let the chips fall where they may.
It's interesting because there's sort of like, there's this insidious that the industry wants to push the findings. No, they don't. In fact, nobody argues about the fact that you should be hands off. Nobody contacts any investigators. They know that they need it to be clean. And I've talked to some of the top people, on my advisory council. I have two CEOs of the biggest companies in the world, and they reassure me constantly, we're with you, we understand what you're doing it right, everybody should be hands off, and that's the way it is. It's bulletproof that way.
So there's a lot of organizations that do studies, and some of them, are good. Some of them maybe not so. Could the ICRG be a clearinghouse for these studies? Submit them to you and let your people look at them and see if they're valid.
Well, it's a good question. It's something that we've thought about. I don't think that'll ever happen. I think there are too many organizations that would want to maintain their autonomy.
Right.
But I think the more significant question, which really does hurt us, is the rotten apples in the barrel. And the rotten apples in the barrel are people who promote, quote, research,
Right.
which falls into gray literature that would not, if it's not published, it's not research.
Sure. Right. Yeah.
So if somebody's not submitting something for publication, chances are they already know they're calling it research, but it would not pass the smell test. So
Sure, yeah.
for example, our sports wagering behavior study that we funded has already been published in over 20 journals, including the Journal of the American Medical Association, which is considered the most elite of all journals probably in their psychology section. So that tells you who we are and what we do. And that's part of why we say, I feel comfortable saying we're best in class at this, because we don't cut any corners. But that gray literature, when it gets out there and journalists run with it and say, somebody in who knows where did a study that said X, Y, or Z, and it gets into the media and people start, oh, that's terrible.
Sure.
That really hurts the industry, and it probably hurts the people that need help at the same time.
Yeah, no question. I mean, I'm in New Jersey right now, and somebody quoted a study a few weeks ago saying that 20% of the people who gamble online are problem gamblers. And where'd that research come from? I haven't seen anything like that. I mean, these are the kinds of things that get out there, as you say. So is there a way? Is there like a national path that the ICRG could take to kind of dispute those kind of studies that come out?
Occasionally, when I've read something that is highly suspicious, I'll write to the person who wrote the article and say that is inconsistent with what it is that we know from the research. And more often than not, they don't respond. I'm sorry, but it's like, I'm going to tell you one other thing that, there's a lot of stuff going on in Washington right now.
Right.
There's the Senate committee and all this other stuff, and they were talking about sports betting. I called the number of that Senate Judiciary Committee or whatever. I may be wrong, but I called whatever the number is of that committee that's overseeing it. Nobody called me back. I said, we have data that we just spent $400,000 to provide to you, and I can't get you to call back.
Right.
There's a need to know, but doesn't mean that they want to know. And that's really unfair.
Yeah, and it's dangerous. I mean, I've talked to the AGA about, I remember covering the National Gambling Impact Study Commission in 1998 and 1999, followed them all around the country to different venues that they were there. And, at that time, Frank Fahrenkopf was head of the AGA and did a great job in presenting material. But, it doesn't seem like the Congress really is interested in getting to the bottom of that. And we really don't want them to study that again because the data is all out there, as you say.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we feel we're providing a service. Take advantage of it. We're working hard. We're working our fingers to the bone here, and then you close the door and basically act like you don't care about facts. Not that that's. I'm not going to go too deeply into Washington right now, but facts do matter to us.
Right.
Facts matter to us. We're a fact-driven organization.
No question. So just one more question. Your successor at the ICRG is Micheal Soll, a good friend of mine who I've known for years. He's a very intelligent guy, very compassionate guy, and he's leaving a company that he's led for a long time that does a great job in covering the industry. So are you pleased that he's going to be your successor? And I know he was on the board while you were president. What kind of relationship do you have with him?
Well, you stole all my talking points, Roger. All of those things that you said are true.
Right.
Here's something I wanted to put out at the end because it's extremely exciting news, and I wanted to share it on the podcast. We just received a large grant from the National Football League.
Oh, great.
So in addition to the gaming companies in the sports space, now we have the Big Daddy, the National Football League, and it was a significant six-figure grant, and it's focusing on young people. And specifically college athletes. And there's a lot of pressure on college athletes right now, and it needs to be understood better. So I'm super excited about that. So that's off the landing pad, right? And so Micheal walks in at a very important time because, frankly, all of the sports leagues who are all engaged around sports betting right now should be supporting research like this. So we thank the NFL for being first when it comes to that. But Micheal is an amazing guy. And, like, people ask me all the time, tough act to follow, very nice. Everybody's been very gracious. The board has been unbelievable.
Right.
But I think while he has substantial skill sets in the same spaces as my own, he also has other skills that I think we need right now, because at this point, with all of this research that's going to flow out over the course of the next several years as these studies get finished, I think it's operationalizing and brainstorming about different things that we can bring in to keep players safe. It's going to be the next really important role of the ICRG, and I think he's perfect for that.
Yeah,
I think he's going to drive that because of his relationships with the industry. So I think he's a perfect choice, and I agreed to serve on the board. Great. That's how much I care about Micheal, and I care about the organization around the other things I plan to do, which are not serving on boards. Right. but I'm committed all the way, and he's committed doubly so. For me to lead this company to do this tells you everything you need to know. He's really in it. So I'm pretty excited about where the organization is going to go with him at the helm.
Great. Well, Art, congratulations on your time serving the industry, and as someone who's covered your organization since the start, I think you've been one of the more important leaders there. So I really want to tell you that the industry appreciates what you've done, and we give you all the kudos because you deserve it.
Thank you. Hopefully, my basketball team will do as well as the ICRG has done since I was.
Are you talking about the Suns?
No. I'm talking about, I took a job. I'm the coach of the freshman basketball team at Desert Mountain High School here.
Okay. Great.
Yeah.
Well,
I can't say that I fully retired, but that is not a well-paying job.
Yeah, well.
As you can imagine. But it is a lot of fun.
Job. Yeah, no question.
It's a very fun job. Yes, sir.
Great. Well, Art, thanks for taking the time, and we'll stay in touch, even if you're not the president of the organization. And no, Michael's going to do his best to carry on what you started. So again, congratulations, and thanks for the time.
You got it. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thanks for joining us on the GGB podcast. To learn more about the topics discussed today and all the important issues in gaming, check out the Global Gaming Business Magazine. For a free virtual copy of the magazine, subscribe at ggbmagazine.com. To stay current with the daily news of the gaming industry, subscribe for free to the Global Gaming Monitor at iGamingbusiness.com. Don't miss a single episode of the GGB podcast. Subscribe on Amazon, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts today. So we'll see you next time on the GGB podcast.